ask something?
You can also like make references to our slides if you want.
Yeah.
And
Start from the top.
Yes, and that is a long way to press.
okay, wait.
Can just exit.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys have any more questions about what's the issue or the unclear about something?
If you want a refresher on our points. These are my 2 main points, like the reasons behind it. Clarify. Yes, the recap. So yes, this is how where they stay. This is what they eat. Or do you have any questions regarding like the misconceptions? Like for example, what is an example of one misconception you want us to answer? We didn't really explain this just now, but if you do have, yes.
Question?
Okay, how about part 2?
Yeah, so my point was more about introducing you to the life of a migrant worker working in Singapore and the consequence that arises from our lack of social interaction with them, which was them not being well integrated into our society, and secondly, it leads to their poor mental well-being. So, do you have any questions about that?
Like, were you guys shocked or surprised?
So the book that the man wrote was in English?
Yes, it was in English. So he wrote a poem called A Death of Dreams. So this poem actually won a competition, and people were actually really surprised and really touched by his poem. So they decided to help him, help him achieve the dream of publishing this book, where he was able to share his stories about how it was like working in Singapore. And I think it was a very good story to share, considering how I think a lot of us Singaporeans are not aware of what it's like to be a migrant worker and to be isolated and to feel so lonely in a country which is full of people.
So the book, is it available?
It's
in the
available,
libraries?
it's in the NLB, and at the same time, every cent that is earned, it costs $15 a book, it goes straight to him. And he does donate it to all his other friends in the same monetary as well. Yeah.
So is he still working here?
He is still working, and the last time I heard about him was actually in CAP, the residential college we stayed in. There's actually a course called Hidden Communities, and apparently last semester when they had this module, the prof was actually sharing this story and helping him promote the book. So I believe he's still here. Yeah. Yes.
Because Singapore is very pragmatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the benefits for us when we help these migrant workers?
Okay, it's not about, I think for our thing, it's not about helping these migrant workers, because most of these migrant workers are already like adults and they're really trying their best to be independent. It's more about how we interact with them, like in the public areas. Because personally for me, sometimes when I go to the MRT or the bus, I see people like visibly, they try to hide it, but they move away from them. And I think like, you might think that's not noticeable, but even if I'm an outsider, I can see it. Can you imagine how these migrant workers feel through this kind of thing? So it's more about actually putting the effort to get to know them, interact with them, not more so of helping them with their stuff.
I think to add on to that point, when you talk about Singaporeans being pragmatic, if you want to really look at it from that point of view, then we can think of it as these migrant workers build our homes, they build our offices, so they help us build these, and without them, we won't have it. So in that way, I think the least you can do is be gracious hosts in terms of being that host country, receiving them here. At the same time, I think when I talked about introducing them to the life of a migrant worker, I really hope that that point actually allowed us to know how it feels like to be in their shoes. Because imagine if we were them in another country trying to work and being ostracized and being marginalized. I think that's something we won't like as well. So I guess in a sense, don't do upon others what you won't want to do upon yourself.
Yeah, and actually to add on to that further, based on my interactions with migrant workers, because I've had the opportunity to interview migrant workers personally, they are not really like asking for help. Actually, I think the idea behind this whole thing is how we view migrant workers and how we would like migrant workers to feel in our country. So as they are doing all these tough jobs, which are mainly known as like dirty, dangerous jobs, like how we view migrant workers, such as individuals, human, like you and I, and they're coming to Singapore after all, just to earn a living for their families, just like what our ancestors do like. So these migrant workers actually shouldn't be pitied, which we don't need to sympathize or pity them, but just how, as Singaporeans, what can we do to welcome them and to better integrate them into our society? Yeah.
Okay, how about our last point? Yeah, so I introduced like 3 solutions, but of course there's more, but these are the ones that I thought were quite meaningful and something that we can do. Yeah. So any questions for all of this? For example, for the first one, the first one about eating together, having a meal at the house. Yeah, sure.
So like, how do you propose like us to invite them? Like you can't just randomly go onto the street and like, hi, you wanna?
Yeah, that's why this.
Weird.
Yeah, that's why there's this initiative, this Kamaka initiative which started. So what actually is happening is migrant worker centers like sets up. So people from migrant worker center will actually help these interested families to link them to migrant workers that are living near them. So it's not exactly like you just like grab a random migrant worker like, hey, have me at our house. That's so you wouldn't even do that to like anybody else, right? So yeah. So there actually are stuff like this going on, not even just this initiative. Yeah. Example, even for this thing also, this home visit like isn't like in itself there's already being meals being prepared also. So let's see. So there are available avenues, it's just whether you can find it or not. But I do have the email of this guy. So this guy is actually Mr. Fahid. So I do have his email if you want to, if you're interested hosts. Yeah. And okay, so the second point is like celebrating special occasions together. Is there any question of that? Okay, it's okay. And then the last one is yeah.
I know where do you guys get the picture of the food, the potatoes beside the bread or something like that? Because
Okay, so when we were doing these, we were researching on these pictures, we actually went to different websites to actually search like the food. So you may think maybe like we're showing like the most dire of like food, right? Like why would we show you like a better one? But across different websites that we went, the food portion is almost the same. So like we just picked one that I guess stood out a bit more. It made it a bit obvious. I mean, look at that, so much rice, this amount of gravy, this amount of fish. Like we wanted to show like really like the dire situation of how they go about. Because a lot of these construction workers actually, when they're working, the mindset of their bosses is just that they just need rice. That's all the energy they need to work, right? But that's not the case. Yeah. So all these pictures are actually taken when actually certain news agencies or certain websites actually went down to these dormitories to take pictures of how it looks like. Yeah.
Okay.